at times is becoming farcical, and you have to really feel for these players and management. This isn't normal in any shape or form.
For your first chance to hear Brian O'Driscoll on OTB, download the OTB Sports app and turn on your notifications.
The OTB Podcast Network with Get Set Go. Quick start car insurance that's ready when you are. Sort your policy anytime online at getsetgo.ie.
OTB AM.
With Gillette, put your best face forward with our new and improved razors.
Okay, 8:52. Let's turn our attention to the Premier League and some quick questions about what we think is going to happen over the next while. So,
Premier League, what?
I need you to get your crystal ball out, Kenny.
Rewind. Let's rewind. What are we talking about? England, Premier, what? Man United, yeah, I'm with you now.
So, relegation, right? I want you to...
I'm literally... It seems as if it's like 6 months ago since we last covered a Premier League game. It's funny, isn't it? That international break, and maybe a little bit kind of emotion where we are with the team, and it's so kind of consuming, isn't it?
We should do it previously on the Premier League.
Difficult to come out of it. It was difficult to come out of it and park it. And so, right, let's get back onto Premiership duty.
You know, I hope that that's a good thing in the long run if they can continue in the direction they're going and they've turned things around. Then I think that the fact that it matters so much now, because there was definitely international breaks. It was creeping in. Like, you'd be on your phone for most of the match, flicking. Oh, we've got another corner. They've got another corner. Like,
people weren't getting excited, Joe. Were they like talking? When the game's coming up, you'd be talking about a buzz, tickets, but the whole shebang be buzz. That bit of buzz around the games. I'm sure. I'm sure they remember that. That hasn't been the case, like, you know what I mean? Like I said, for some time.
And maybe Kenny's critics have done a bit of a favour in kind of getting the crowd behind them. Like, they feel a bit of ownership over him. They feel a bit of ownership of the team. And the team, if they can come through that, and the signs are relatively positive at the moment, they're definitely not through it. I don't think it's over yet.
It's more about, it's not simple. It's more about the Kenny. For the Kenny fans, a bit of Kenny fans, same with any manager. You know what I mean? To have a supporters.
It feels like
it's about that group, and maybe not naturally gravitate towards Stephen and the staff and get behind them, or potentially bringing those people all on board. Not because I'm a Stephen Kenny fan, but do you know what? Forget about the manager. I actually enjoy what I'm seeing on the pitch. The football that we're producing.
There's enough excitement in the players, like in the performances that they're putting out there, and even the backstory of some of them. You kind of falling in love with this team, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, the young players as well. Even like Nathan Collins, I checked that last night, kind of working on the game. I played with his dad, Dave. Right. I played schoolboy football in Dublin with him. Dave played for Cherry Orchard. He went to England when he was young. He signed for Liverpool, had his career and kind of came back. So again, seeing his young fella on the pitch last night. Actually, when the game was over, I saw Nathan go over and try to celebrate to an extent as best you can with some family in the stand. And his dad was there. I recognised me and Pat Fenlon were looking down, and we could see him down there, and he was obviously very emotionally effective, his dad. So that was a lovely touch, you know what I mean? So it's things like that you kind of recognise, you feel almost not a part of it, like, you know what I mean?
You are a part of it. You captain this team.
No, but you have a distance, like, this was the beauty of Irish international football for me. You felt as if you had a relationship with people from a distance. You knew him. Oh yeah, his ma used to. Yeah, that's his brother who lives down the road. That's a good friend of his. You know what I mean? There's a close personal, close personal relationship, but it always felt as if the team was closer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In terms of that kind of bond between supporters and players for that reason. So little things like that, like last night for me, kind of, makes it more special.
We did a piece a couple of weeks ago about the walking tour that starts in Croke Park and finishes in Dalymount. I don't know if you've ever been on it, but they stop off along the way, I think at one of your gaffs when you were a kid, and it's kind of that conversation about
one of me gaffs. We weren't like big property investors, you know what I mean? My mum and me, we didn't have 8 properties around Dublin. We used to just flip from one to the other.
Well, I don't know where you live, so I wasn't sure if you'd moved or not.
You used to flip a little bit. That would have been getting into the old Carpo house.
And the amount of footballers who live between or who grew up in that area, like, I can see why it feels like it's a community thing. You kind of come from an area which was a hotbed of Irish football. It hasn't really been talked about like that.
Yeah, yes, I never really thought of it that way, to be honest with you. You're probably right. You throw a blanket around maybe that part of Dublin, but it's bigger than that, really, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's bigger. It's kind of it's across the whole island, isn't it? The representation which we have, Cork players in
now
particular,
it is,
Kerry, and all over. And now you're talking about exactly players now who've not necessarily born in the country, Chiedozie Ogbone's a very interesting story there in terms of his family coming and settling in Ireland. I thought it was a very nice read the article about him. Obviously kind of grew up and very close to the community down in Cork for obvious reasons. That's where he grew up, that's all he's known. But his dad, he was saying, had the option of actually moving the family from Nigeria to Ireland or Florida in the United States, and he made the choice to go to Ireland, and the reason was he worked with a number of Irish people in his work and had a really kind of positive experience with them, and that made his mind up for him. Well, this is the environment where I want my family, my child to grow up in. So that was a kind of really nice touch, and a little backstory there that you're talking about. I think people feed off that a little bit in terms of making that connection with the squad as well, Jerry. Just little small things like that make a big difference. It
all adds up, and it all matters, and it all makes the team really interesting at the moment. And
I can't believe those Munster lads are too happy wearing that Leinster jersey. Is there going to be an issue? It's going to be an issue with that.
Maybe it can unite us
going forward.
It's going to bring us all together.
It's got to be Ulster red. Maybe it's got
that's
Munster red.
We haven't quite.
Connacht? Is that blue? Is that blue? Connacht blue?
Well, Connacht's green. That's the
green is the traditional. Oh, right.
Well, maybe that's it. Like once we put on the Ulster colours, the IFA will just disband right now and say, take all our players. You can have them.
And we've opened a can of worms. Let's get back to the Premier League can of worms. Who's going to get relegated? Kenny, give me a
oh, yeah, come on. Are we struggling for time?
No, we're not.
You need a filler. Is that what it is?
Not at all. It's the opposite. People are like,
who's what? Name them.
Newcastle
Name
United.
check them. Who's tweeted in this morning? I'm desperately need you to talk about the bottom train, the Premiership. We're going to get relegated, Jer, please.
Well, okay. Well, then we'll skip the relegation.
Penny down on that.
Let's skip the relegation.
None obviously from what you're saying.
Are Newcastle going to get relegated?
I don't, but that's dependent, Jared, isn't it? Because they talk about Steve Bruce being out the door in a couple of weeks
or an hour.
So that's going to be a huge factor. He goes out and Antonio Conte comes in the next couple of weeks. I mean, I think that's going to be a factor in terms of whether Newcastle are going to stay up or not. Whether 100, 200 million becomes available in the January transfer window. I think it's going to be significant, relevant in terms of whether Newcastle stay up.
They can spend 190 apparently.
Just trying to make a point to you. Just trying to make a point to you.
I get the point you're making, but it's almost bang on in terms of the amount of money they might spend. They've got to go crazy in the transfer window to make sure they don't get relegated. But if you go too crazy,
yeah, exactly. No, I think that's dangerous. I think that's a dangerous thing. I think ideally, if you're looking at it, should you change them? I'm not saying you shouldn't change the managers, to be honest with you. There's an argument there for terms of stabilisation, keep the manager in place. He understands the players were there, he's worked with them, and maybe giving him responsibility to add to that in the transfer. Well, not a huge sum of money, but maybe 2 or 3 players in key areas of the pitch in that transfer window. Maybe that's a better argument in terms for them staying up this year rather than making that out you go, there's 10 million, off you go.
Give him a 10 million bonus for keeping the team in the Premier League. Give him 100 million to spend and go, just keep us in the Premier League. That's all you have to do. And at the end of the summer you can go off and we'll get Brendan Rodgers.
I think there's an argument for that. That may well be the case. We'll wait and see.
Yeah, I think they're going to shoot him though, because that's when new business comes in and goes, this is ours, we're going to take it, we want to play with these things, I've got new toys. So I'd be interested.
Not too many though. Who'd you put in there then? If you're a Newcastle supporter at the moment, who?
Rodgers is favourite.
Brendan Rodgers?
Yeah.
Well, he's not going to jump. He's not going to jump from Leicester at the moment. Maybe end of the season, but he's not foolish enough. Brendan Rodgers for me is someone who very much in terms of image, how his perception, how he's viewed in that respect. For him to jump, which what he'd have to do, he'd have to fight his way out of Leicester City. He'd have to go and strike guard and Dewey. That's very messy. Not too many top managers like to go down that particular route. So nobody in a job. I can't say anybody in a job.
I think you're right about that. But the only thing about Brendan Rodgers is how many jobs are there going to be that he is in the reckoning for? So he's had the Liverpool job, he's not getting that again, and because he's had the Liverpool job, he's not getting the Man United job. After that, how is he going to? He might get the Chelsea job at some point.
Yeah.
He's got a connection to the club.
I agree with you. I get a sense, don't know Brendan Rodgers too well, but I get a feeling looking at Brendan Rodgers, somebody really kind of ambitious and motivated and wants to operate at a higher level than Leicester, and feels as if he's good enough. And I think you're right, his options will be limited in that respect. I even think potentially he can go abroad, but in terms of what's available within the Premiership, I think you're right. Arsenal, Chelsea, you could make an argument.
Totally Arsenal.
But in terms of where Leicester are in a good place at the moment, you know what I mean? So he really feels if you're going to make that jump up.
Can I just ask you though, so if we go through those, right? So the Chelsea job, unfortunately Tuchel has done a great job. If you're like advising Rodgers at the moment, Tuchel's done a great job. He ain't going anywhere for at least 18 months. He's probably got 18 months of a window.
Change quickly though. Chelsea being Chelsea though.
It can
change.
I think that's an option.
Rodgers' stock could also be damaged as well in that time, and I mean they haven't started the season well. Just put it to you.
Let me go to the other. Spurs. Are you going to? Will you go? You go Daniel Levy? No thanks. For Brendan Rodgers, I want to sign this player. I want to sign this player. Levy like, no. I want to sell this player. No, you can't because I like him. Not gonna be a great fit.
Yeah.
Arsenal. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. He could definitely get the Arsenal job, but maybe Arteta's turned that round. Which kind of makes Newcastle all of a sudden like
stand alone though. Forget about the rule book when it comes. This is unprecedented. Really, is in terms of what's going to happen with Newcastle. People are like, was Newcastle step down? Look where they are. Leicester in a very good place, but the potential there to step into that football club, and
that's
absolutely, you know what I mean.
You have to be thinking about
the amount of investment that's going to be behind that must be attractive for any kind of manager of any stature. So I think you're right. I think Rodgers will be looking at that, and if he's got an inclination of phone call from somebody, an agent, look, are you interested in this job? I think the answer would be yes, I'm interested, but we need to park this till the end of the season. Yeah, you can have me, but we need to do this at the start of the season.
And if they say it's now or never, buddy,
I don't think you will.
Okay.
Unless Leicester City were prepared to accommodate him and say, well, absolutely, Brendan, we'll allow you to walk out of the football
50
club.
million quid.
That type of, yeah, potentially. And Brendan's go, I don't really want to go, but I've spoken to the chairman. He's accepted the 50 million. I don't understand in the Leicester. If they want me to move on, I'll do the decent thing. And
the best case scenario for Rodgers here is to kind of see how things play out over the next little while, and in around March or April announce that he's leaving Leicester for Newcastle United, knowing that he's going to be managing a team in the Premier League with a big kitty in the summer, rather than going there now and being like, oh crap, this playing group is not good enough to stay in the Premier League. Can I just put to you, second favourite is Frank Lampard.
Yeah, I wouldn't rule him out. I don't think it's helped. Obviously, things ended very quickly for him at Chelsea, but I had a bit of sympathy for him, to be honest with you. I personally would have stuck with him for a longer period of time. I like Lampard, to be honest with you. Always struck me as somebody like very astute, intelligent. I'm talking about football intelligence here more so than anything else. So I actually value him quite highly, and I think he actually will come back into the game. I'm not too sure. If I was looking at somebody of that ilk, for me, it's probably Gerrard gets the nod over Lampard. Now Lampard's out of a job at the moment, but I was looking at those two players at the moment. Gerrard's the one I'd lean towards with those particular two type of players, if that's what you were after. But I just think of the amount of investment they're going to put into that football club, you would just feel as if
Gerrard not too inexperienced for.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You would imagine the chit chat, the advice that they're getting, the owners of that football club. If they have owners, it's a personal, wealth fund. It's not actual links to the, as we know. But whoever those people are, Amanda Stavely or whoever it is who's up front, you would have thought the voice they're getting, and we need someone of real experience, stature here, somebody we can trust. Won't get knocked sideways in terms of the amount of work that needs to be done here.
Yeah.
So that lends itself more to a different type of manager. But I find it difficult at the moment to see. Conte's out of a job, and I'm a huge fan of Conte, but I'm not too sure. I think they might well have to park it till the end of the season.
Yeah.
But I think
Poch could get sacked by PSG before then, or something like crazy things are going to happen.
Things can change very quickly. We know what it's like, manager turnover in that short period of time. But I think you're right with Rodgers, and I think he's very astute, Brendan Rodgers. I think he's going to have a difficult season at Leicester. I thought that before the season started. I thought it was a great window of opportunity for them the past 2 seasons.
Yeah, and then
in terms of that jump at the Champions League, and they came up short. They kind of blew it, to be honest with you. Last couple of months of the season. This is going to be more difficult for them. So I think maybe his standard will have dropped a little bit by the end of this year. Not as easy for him to make that bounce to one of those top clubs that we're talking about. So maybe Newcastle might be the next best vehicle for him to go and build something and build a team that can actually challenge for Champions League football. That might be the better option, a funny way for him. If he wants to, I want to manage in the Champions League consistently, Newcastle may be the better option for him rather than, fingers crossed, waiting for that potential job at Chelsea to come along over the next couple of years.
Okay, very quickly, rate these teams' survival chances out of 10. Are they going to survive? 7 games gone. So Norwich City, survival chances out of 10. Presumably it's 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10.
Minimal.
0. Okay.
1.
Newcastle.
I'd say never.
Newcastle.
Yeah, I'd say 4.
Ooh,
still think the forwards wise, same argument last season. Just feels if they can get their forward Callum Wilson on the pitch, Alan saying Maximin Almiron, those type of players, just feels if they got enough goals in them to get themselves out of trouble.
4 out of 10 means you don't think they're going to survive. So you think they will survive.
Oh, you didn't stipulate that. You just asked me for marks out of 10.
Rate their team's survival chances out of 10. 10 out of 10 means they're going to survive.
You think it's more likely than
it's a bad formula. It's a bad formula you've got there.
Well, surely if you think
the formula.
They're definitely going to go down. What about if I could put 3 at naught? They give 3 teams naught. That means then one doesn't go down. Is that the argument?
No, you
don't understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Wouldn't you just leave it till they're going to go down or not, rather than
okay,
marking system of 1 to 10? You're just confused, just muddying the waters.
Easier for us to sell on social. What? Okay, so Norwich are going to go down. Who else is going to go down? Burnley, Southampton, Leeds, Watford, Palace. Anybody else getting dragged in? Villa, Brentford, Brighton. They're not going to get dragged in.
No, I think what's happening at Villa is actually extraordinary, to be honest with you. One of the sides are really... Oh, your team actually wasn't saying that for that reason. No, really exciting team they're putting together up there. So no, I don't think they'll have any worries whatsoever. Yeah. Same old faces. There's kind of half a dozen that you mentioned there. But like I said, I think it is dependent what happens between now and the end of the season, transfer window, etc. But yeah, it will be those teams. No, that doesn't help you. That's not the punch you were looking for. But.
Okay, let's try this one again then.
Who's going to win the Premiership?
No, okay, so
original one.
We're going to look at, because the transfer window is about to, the speculation certainly is going to ramp up immediately. It already has, but there's some of the big transfers that have already been made. Give us marks out of 10 for these, right?
Oh,
Grealish to City.
Yeah, I'll give him a 7. I'll give him a 3 at the weekend, but I blame the manager for that, because he made that ludicrous decision again to throw him in as that false number 9. I just don't understand it. I really don't. He looked uncomfortable in the position in terms of his, positional sense, areas to pick up. He was struggling to get into the game. He was kind of wandering around the pitch for me, Grealish. You play him left with threes, he has done predominantly. You find a deeper midfield position for him. So I don't think he was actually helped the previous game against Liverpool. I thought his manager actually hung him out a little bit in the game against Liverpool. But I'm a huge fan of him, I'd have to say that.
Is there go on?
So what I was going to say, he needs to pick up the phone to his former Republic of Ireland teammate Callum Robinson and say, listen Callum, how have you managed to adapt from a wide player to a goal scoring central player?
But I suppose that'd be my point. He has to adapt to playing that position. But why? He's got players who are Guardiola best suited to that position.
Is Guardiola playing a long game with somebody like that and saying, this is what this player... So the Ajax way was Bergkamp played right back for 3 or 4 games to teach him what the right back was thinking and what the movement was like. So the next time he played, he had a deeper understanding
but that's
of it.
Like schoolboy academy football. There's a certain argument to that in terms of understanding certain positions, player development at a young age. But this is like professional football that we're talking about.
No, but they get better. They get deeper understanding of what they're trying to do.
It takes time. But yeah, but could cost you. Manchester City could have won that game. Played Grealish off the left, play Foden off the right. Foden can impact the game from anywhere, and play Jesus down the middle of the pitch for me, give them a stronger chance of winning that game against them. They could have won that game.
I agree with you. I'm trying to get into Guardiola's head to understand what he thinks. Like, why is he doing it?
I don't know what he's thinking. He's done it time and time again, particularly that false number 9 one. I don't understand it, because some players may just better suited to that position. Why not play better players who are better suited to that position than others?
And in form, Jesus had just scored the winner against Chelsea the previous week.
Yeah, look at Ferran Torres during the week, League of Nations, the goals he's scored playing in that.
Ferran Torres is amazing for Spain.
Yeah, but people say another false number 9. But the more I look at him, I think more of a natural number 9 in terms of the positions, of the runs that he's making.
Stick him in the team
into the box. Yeah, but he can't get onto the pitch. He's got to look at Jack Grealish kind of zombie walking around in that area of the pitch, not understanding the role, what he's expected to do.
Okay, Ronaldo to Manchester United out of 10.
7.5.
Okay, why is he getting deducted marks?
Well, it was always going to be that quid pro quo, wasn't it? And you can see him obviously in terms of
who's the boss.
Sorry?
Who's the boss? Is that the quid pro quo?
No, a little bit of that, to be honest with you. You can sense a little bit of that bubbling under the surface. He's not happy to be sat on that bench at any time. He's not happy to be brought off the pitch at any particular time. The best example of that for me was when he brought off against Young Boys of Bern with kind of 15 minutes to go. Probably should have been brought off at half time with the sending off they had that game. And Solskjaer literally tripping over himself to try and explain himself, apologising as he was walking down the touchline. That's not a good look for me, you know what I mean? And they can't have Tim in. He's a big enough personality in the dressing room, and the likes of Pogba, Sanchez had a difficult start there. I think you're right.
But Kenny, he made that speech and nobody had desserts, so therefore it must be a winner. No, 10 out of 10.
Winner. Be careful with the sprinkling of whatever you put on your chicken in your dinner, sort of thing.
Yeah,
I think it's fascinating. Manchester United, to be honest with you, it's not going to be difficult. It's going to be a difficult dressing room to manage if things start to go a little bit skew with during the course of the season.
Varane to Man United out of 10.
Varane,
yeah,
like 8. Yeah, pretty much as expected. And that first game against Wolves just strikes me as like a ballerina. The way he kind of moves over the ground, doesn't he? Like he moves on the top of his toes, and it's all a bit seamless. No, I think he's strengthened the team. So yeah, good signing for me.
Okay, he's a little bit injury. His injury profile is not amazing, and he's going to be out for a little while.
A couple of weeks, yeah.
So that
doesn't help.
No, it's definitely a little kind of asterisk there. Just as the season goes on, will he play 20 games? Will he play 30 games? Will he play 40 games? There's a big difference, you know.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. I think he needs to play those 40 games like you're talking about, because there's a small soft centre to that Manchester United back four when he doesn't play.
But they're back to square one now. He's out for a few weeks. They said so. I mean, it's all of a sudden Maguire's out as well, or possibly. Yeah. So it's going to be very interesting to see if it's just like Groundhog Day for Manchester United.
We've got Leicester at 3 o'clock on Saturday for Manchester United, Burnley at 3 o'clock for City on Saturday, and the next one is Jadon Sancho. What do you make of Jadon Sancho's transfer to Manchester United so far?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a struggle for him. Yeah, I wouldn't give up on him. Yeah, I watched a lot of him in Germany. He was absolutely fantastic, but would be a basic thing to say, but just like a step up in level to a certain extent, maybe even expectation. So he struggled that a little bit. He's found it tough. Felt sympathy for him. We're talking about the young boys. The game Wan-Bissaka got sent off. That must have hurt him getting pulled straight away 35 minutes in. I looked at that. You're not talking about managers' big decisions. I mean, the mentality of the player kind of struggling, got into a new club, struggling a little bit, real frustration there. You're trying to find a little bit of form. You need minutes on the pitch. 35 minutes into that particular game, sending off, you got to whip somebody out, woof, you get the hook. You know what I mean? And I just thought, in terms of even Solskjaer, he needed to stay on the pitch, just in terms of his mindset, to keep him in a good place. That would have hurt. No player likes getting the fish hook 35 minutes in, regardless of the circumstances. So that was very interesting to me, in terms of him getting hooked there. That wouldn't have helped him. So he's struggling. He is scratching around a little bit for form. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I like Sancho, don't get me wrong, and I think they are strengthened with him in the squad. But again, before they signed Sancho, if you'd have said to me 85 million to spend, where are you going to spend it? Centre midfield. Go big. We need a centre midfielder, because at the time, well, what about right-sided midfielder? You got Greenwood there. You got Greenwood there who can not easily operate it off the right-hand side. Martial, Rashford, that we spoke about, Cavani there as well. Daniel James was still at the football club, so plenty of options there. For me, was crying out for that holding midfield. It didn't happen. They spent the money on Sancho. Are they stronger because of it? Yes, but he needs to play better than he is at the moment, clearly.
He may well be a signing for the medium term, but Solskjaer lives in every week as a referendum on him. That's the situation he finds himself in. So I see why you would take the opportunity to buy a player of that quality, but they haven't helped him in his integration. They've picked him in the wrong position a couple of times, and
he played off the left predominantly, isn't he? Most of the time at Dortmund he played right of a three. You know what I mean?
So out of 10 at the moment?
Oh, so 5.5, 6 Sancho at the moment, yeah.
All right. And Lukaku, how impressed are you by Lukaku's early signs at Chelsea? They've got Brentford on Saturday at 5:30, so all the big guns on Saturday.
Yeah, hasn't scored a huge amount of late, but he is what he is, Lukaku. It's what it says on the tin, pretty much. When you look at Lukaku, if you look at the types of goals that he scored, if you look at the types of goals that he scored for Milan over the past couple of seasons under Conte. Conte got the very best out of him, but he actually built the team around him, even in terms of how Inter Milan played, leaning towards a more counter-attacking game, because it best suited Lukaku in terms of hitting teams in the counter-attack, getting him running down the channels. But if you look at the goals that he scores predominantly, it doesn't overthink things. It's like shift, shot. When he gets into that position, you need that type of Robbie Fowler type finish, a little kind of bit of a dink, or a little bit more of a creative edge. You don't get that too much from Lukaku, but I still like him. Absolutely, Chelsea are strengthened with him coming into the squad, and he could still make the difference, because for me they're in the shake-up, Chelsea, with Liverpool and Manchester City for that title.
Can I run one hot take by you? I mean, we're not on air or anything, so nobody's going to hear this, but Timo Werner to break out from here till the end of the season and actually go close to matching Lukaku goals-wise.
Match Lukaku.
Maybe matching Lukaku is an overstatement.
Owen loves him some Timo Werner.
Don't say it. If it's an overstatement, don't say it.
Have a very respectable season, as in teens.
He's watering this down.
Hit the teens
goals watering can. Hold on. Keep going. I'm going to get a hose it down now, your original statement.
Hit the teens with goals in the Premier League this season.
Timo Werner, not to totally stink.
Yeah.
It'd actually be very good.
I've been a little bit disappointed, to be honest with you, in terms of his contribution might have been at the football club. And to be honest with you, if you'd offered me, if somebody had said to Chelsea start the season, give the money you paid for him, I'd have taken it.
Newcastle, come on down. Would you like a little bit of Timo Werner action? Come on.
Did you see him the last Chelsea game? I mean, way more of a goal threat than Lukaku.
Let's forget about the previous. Let's forget the previous 30. Let's just focus.
That's why it's a hot take, Kenny. I'm jumping to conclusions based on one game.
Now, look, he'll be around the squad and he'll play his fair share of the games, but his finishing was what let me down last season. Finishing was dreadful.
I think with Lukaku, though,
you've got to be better than that. You've got to be more clinical than that in terms of where opportunities presented himself. He looks as if almost he lost his confidence last year in around the kind of penalty box. So I wouldn't give up on him. Don't get me wrong. And I think he's a good option to have around the squad in terms of the qualities which he has, as opposed to other forward players. Obviously, Lukaku in particular, but Lukaku's going to be the focal point for that attack. And when I think about players who are going to operate, going to link up with him around him, I'm thinking about Mount, Pulisic, Ziyech, those type of players. I'm looking at those type of combinations that will naturally work rather than maybe a Lukaku or a Werner, combination up front.
So no is the answer to my question. That's fine, Kenny.
Last one.
Stupid question.
Who's your number one must-watch Premier League team this season so far? Who's been the most enjoyable team to watch?
Oh, yeah, good question. Do you know what? Villa. I didn't play well last week, to be honest with you. A bit of a drop off, wasn't it?
Disappointing. Because it really felt like the Man United game was a corner turned. And
I've watched them a couple of games. They've been really exciting. Really, some very talented forward players now. The money again invested in the summer. Got some really strong. Watkins, obviously. Ings has come in. Traore. Some outstanding talent, solid. Talking about balance, now we're talking about even the Ireland team early on, that kind of getting that healthy balance in the team, attacking, kind of defending, nice little balance in that Aston Villa team, youth as well, a lot of youth, energy, legs in the team as well. So they're the ones for me. I look at them actually quite excited when I watch them play. They're a good team. They're a good watch. Yeah.
Just like the Republic of Ireland, we've come full circle. Kenny, good stuff. Keep the blue jersey.
Haven't got one.
Keep Kenny.
Have we got a contact? Can we get one of those? How do you get one of those jerseys? Can you walk into wherever it is?
Republic of Ireland captain issues. Come and get me. No, they were
operating in town.
They were limited edition. There was only 2,000 of them made, I think.
No way.
Yeah,
that was smart. That they're even hard to get.
I'll be amazed there's not one hanging up in this studio in a week. So I'll be very disappointed. Your connection. Have you burnt all your bridges with the association?
No.
We had Johnny Courtney on the show actually talking about it.
He designed it and made it. Yeah.
Since everybody
get me your hands on one, I'll bring it in. If I can get me hands on one, I'll bring it in. Don't rule me out.
Republic of Ireland captain Kenny Cunningham issues. Come and get me, please, to blue jersey.
just pushing kids out of the way at the front, trying to get Callum Robinson's jersey at the next home international.
This is the transfer gossip we all needed. Kenny, good stuff. Thanks a million. One last question. Paul on YouTube wants to know: would Roy Keane be in with a shout for the Newcastle gig?
That's to you, Kenny.
On that note,
we're going to take a quick